book. I get hooked every time the writer talks to me like a friend.
All right, guys. Sorry about that, guys. I was in a fugue. I was in a fugue state. Yeah, and I'm still having trouble answering the question of why Xana didn't say anything to me. But then I was like, well, let me think about it. Well, could have been the large pool of blood, maybe. Could have been the fact that she was lying face down in it. That's another possibility. And she was also in her underwear. And so yeah, I'm thinking it had to do with those three things. That's maybe why she didn't say anything to me. What do you think, Dylan? Do you think that's the reason why she didn't say anything to you? Anyway, yeah, guys. I'm sorry. I was really stuck on that. Really stuck. Reddit. Reddit. What do you? Let's carry on. Okay, so Dylan left this person's house, blank and blank's house, at approximately 12:49 a.m. to go home. Dylan stated she is certain at 2:11 a.m., which to our bullshit discussion might have been 2:11 a.m., Moscow time, not Dylan's made-up fantasy world time in Boise. Yeah, 2:11 a.m. Oh, my God. Bethany, Kaylee, Maddie, and her, they were all in the house. And here we go again. Nobody is certain about where Xana and Ethan were because she does not know when they came home. So here, we can scratch out she for everybody, including Moscow Police and Idaho State Police. So Moscow Police, Idaho State Police, and Miss Dylan R. Prime, nobody is certain when Xana and Ethan came home. Huh? But wait a minute. What's the theory? Dylan knows when they got home because she was there. And by the time Maddie and Kaylee got home, guess where they were? Yes, we already been through that. Anyway, let's carry on. But I'm just saying, that's why nobody knows when they got home. Because Dylan, this is her story. And Dylan's story is absolute lie. So when Dylan says she doesn't know what time they got home, we're going to call bullshit on that. Everybody else doesn't know, but she does. And her associates, they know. Anyway, let's carry on. She denied perceiving a threat. Once again, remember, she denied perceiving this whole situation as a threat because it wasn't to her, even after encountering the male in the hallway. In the hallway, guys. Now, not only did we encounter this male in front of our door, we're also encountering him in the hallway. In the hallway. Yeah, let's carry on. She said there were people coming in and out of their house all the time, just like that night. Her friends. And they were all hiding and congregating on the first floor. That's where we find these cigarette butts, by the way. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we miss a few things, like a little cigarette butt that's in the corner of the room. Sometimes we overlook little things like that. Right, Dylan Mortensen? And your associates. Anyway, she denied remembering what his face looked like and said she could see that his head and mouth were covered, but she could not remember again. She could not see his eyebrows. And further, she told us she was not certain she could even see his nose. Here we go with the balaclava bullshit that they implanted in her brain. When asked if she knew what a balaclava was, this is the power of suggestion. This is what we call priming our witness. This is bullshit. This is not how we investigate crimes. This is called priming my subject of what I want them to tell me. Fuck you, Idaho State Police. You dirty, corrupt bastards. This is what we call priming people. When we give them suggestions, it's called the power of suggestion. So when we primed Dylan with the balaclava, she's told us no at first. Okay, right. This is called psychological resistance. We're going to get into that more with Molly later. But she says, no, I don't know what a balaclava is. But they don't leave it there. They keep trying to prime her here. And so Dustin asked, Mr. Blaker asked, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's read that. So I asked Sergeant Blaker, I asked the sergeant to show Miss Dillon a picture of one from his very own cell phone, from Blaker's cell phone, because they had this all ready to go, by the way. And upon looking at a picture of a balaclava, now we just primed her. And she says, it could have been that. That could have been it. Very good, Idaho State Police. You did a hell of a job priming your very own prime suspect. I love you. I thank you for being the most corrupt state police department in all of America. This just tells you why. Not only did she say she does not know what a balaclava is, you didn't let it go. No, because you needed her to say, yes, that's what I saw. And they didn't see. She said, no, I don't know what it is. And so instead of stopping right there, to not prime her anymore, they continue to try to prime her by showing her a picture now and saying to her, well, will this jog your memory, Miss Dylan Mortensen? Remember who Dylan Mortensen is. Dylan Mortensen is psychotic, and she doesn't know what's a dream and what's real. So we are priming the psychotic prime suspect, Idaho State Police. This is not how you interview people. This is not how you interview /suspects or witnesses or anybody like that. This is not what we do in homicide cases. This is not what we do. Idaho State Police, again, your department, your entire state department, police department, needs to be shut down and investigated. This is called priming the subject. And it's not something you do in interviews because you are biasing your subject. And this testimony would have been deemed inadmissible in any other normal case. This would have been considered inadmissible. To Brian Koberger, in this case, this would be inadmissible. And a good defense attorney would have fucking hit that over and over and over and over again. They would have hit that point over and over and over and over again. You primed this person. She told you she doesn't know what it is. But instead, you didn't leave it there. No. You went above and beyond to try to get her psychological resistance weakened. To the point now where she says, you know what? Yeah, that could have been it. See how it works? Reddit, people on Reddit. See how it works? People in denial. See how it works? Mainstream media. See how it works? Well, Ken Maines, you should already know this. You were a detective for how many years? You should know this little technique that we're not supposed to use. Because now, this is entirely inadmissible. Because you're using a tactic called priming your subject. And it's a big fucking no-no. Big no-no. Now they do this with Molly on a much larger scale. We're gonna get back to Alex and her little psychological manipulations that they're trying to pull on Molly. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? Why? So, then I thought to myself, okay, now I understand better what you're doing in this interview with Dylan. So I have to go back to the very beginning, guys. Hang on. Okay. So now I understand better what Vicky Gooch's role was in this interview. Now I understand what Gooch's role here was in this interview. She is playing the same game that Brett Payne's assistant is playing with Molly. This is what Gooch is doing here. She's the primer. She's the primer here. Just like Alex interviewing Molly and playing those psychological games with her, that's a whole different story we're getting there. Comes from the same school of manipulation. But that's what Vicky's role here is in this. She's playing the part of Alex here. In Molly's interview, Alex, this is Vicky's role in this. She's the primer. She's what we're going to call the primer here. Let's carry on. So it could have been that balaclava now. However, let's continue. She does not remember seeing his mouth or his nose. Okay? But now, all of a sudden, she could see his eyebrows. That's because we primed her. But wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. His head and mouth were covered. But she could... Oh my God. Now I'm getting primed. I'm sorry, guys. Now I'm getting primed. Before this, she said she could not see his eyebrows. This was before. I'm sorry, guys. I'm priming myself now. Jesus. Okay. All right. Before this statement, before this interview, she could not see his eyebrows. She could not see them. It wasn't until this interview, and it wasn't until they showed her a picture of the balaclava, then she becomes certain of his eyebrows. That's what I was trying to say. My apologies. When asked if any of her roommates told her about any prior incidents involving anything that concerned them, our prime suspect Dylan advised Kaylee had told them Bethany and the other roommates about an incident a month prior when, remember, we heard this from Jenna McClure. She was outside with Murphy, and there was somebody who had been watching her from the shadows. When she was out with Murphy, and Murphy was taking a piss. Yeah. There was a shadowy figure lurking in the bushes. Yeah. This subject was in the apartments above the girl's residence. Oh, wait a minute. So Moscow police and Idaho State Police, the stalker, the information that you have been given, this person lived right above the girls. And, Idaho State Police, Moscow, did you go and interview everybody there at the apartments right above the girls' house where you can see into their rooms and you can watch whatever you want to watch? Gee, Moscow Police, did you do that? Because even though Dylan's our psychotic prime, she gave you some more information about this stalker. And this stalker apparently lives in the apartments right above where the girls live. Yeah. So, Moscow police, did you go and talk to these people at the apartments above them? And if you did, what did you ask them? What did you say to them? Because that's quite possible that the freakos living above them who had full view into their house and bedrooms, it's quite possible one of them was stalking her. Freako. Probably spying in their rooms every night, jerking off. Who knows? But that makes sense if they live right above the girl's house. That makes sense. Anyway, let's carry on. Dylan further explained that 2 to 3 weeks ago, while at that Winco, we've heard this before, Kaylee told her about a male subject who followed her from that Winco all the way to her car. Even when Kaylee went to leave, the male subject was still standing by her car. Remember how Moscow, Idaho let them go with this. They let those two subjects go after interviewing them. And the way these two freakos got around this, they said, well, my friend is really shy about dating girls. And so, yeah, he didn't want to approach Kaylee in the store and talk to her. No. He waited until she was by herself in the parking lot alone, by herself. That's when this freako decided to approach her. Not in the store full of people, Moscow police. Oh, no. He waited until she was by herself at her car is when he decided to approach her to ask for her number. Remember that, guys? Absolutely. Yeah, they let those two freaks go. You know, the freaks that one of them was too shy to approach women in the grocery store to talk to them? Where they feel safer? No. This little psycho, they like to wait until they're all by their lonesome by their car to accost them. Isn't that right, Moscow police? Yes, it is, Master Nature. Yes, it is, Master Nature. I told you, Master Nature don't fuck around in his assessments. Oh, no. No. Think about that. Think about that, my female garden members. Would you rather be approached in a grocery store filled with people around you by some fucking weird male? Or would you rather be approached at your car when you're distracted and trying to put maybe groceries in it? Gee, which scenario would make you feel safer? Yeah, hey, Steve Gonzalez, these are your people. This is not East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. This is not East Coast fucking nonsense. These are your very own weirdos and psychos doing this stuff. Accosting females at their car in the parking lot of the grocery store. Because they're too shy to approach them in the store. Does that make sense to my garden? Let's carry on. Also, 2 to 3 weeks ago, all of the roommates, they all went to Starbucks. And when they got home, their fucking front door was wide open. And they do not believe it had been open when they left. Which is probably true. If they all left together, one of them would have been like, oh, fuck, we left the door open. We got to close it. Yeah. She explained there were prior issues with the front door. Now remember, we got to keep the context, so she's our prime, but still, maybe. Wait a minute. Let me clarify. Let me go on, I'll clarify. So she said it was possible the door opened because there had been a snowstorm And she explained possibly the wind caused the door to open. All right. Whatever. Also, when they got home, the washer was going. And what she described was not unusual, but this also concerned her. But wait a minute. If we're talking about all the roommates, are we talking about Jenna McClure? Right? Because Jenna McClure said in her interview that she practically lived there. So, this may have been Jenna McClure doing fucking wash. Because when we say all the roommates, well, who are we talking about, Idaho State Police? You have to be specific. In a quadruple murder case, Idaho, you have to be specific here. Because Jenna McClure is telling me she's a roommate. You fucking morons. Potatoes. Children of the fucking Rotten Potatoes Part 2. Freddy's Revenge. Master Nature's Revenge. I don't fucking know. I like Freddy's Revenge better, actually. Anyway, I really don't know. I don't like that as a sequel. I'm just saying I like that title better. Anyway, shut up. Master Nature, just get on with it. You're really fucking tiring me out here. All right, just get on with it. Yeah, thanks, sir. She explained because of these things, they went to get Ethan's golf clubs to smash him in the face with. Went to get Ethan's golf clubs to protect themselves when they searched the house that night. Makes a little more sense, though, in that context, doesn't it, guys? Because, again, what are we saying about Dylan? She's psychotic, and she lies all the time. So it's not a stretch for me to think she's talking about that very night and what they did. They went and got Ethan's golf clubs. Remember those golf clubs that we never found out what they did with them? And gee, bashing somebody in the face with a golf club, well, guess what? You're going to do some serious fucking damage to them. To the point, if you hit them enough times, their face is going to be unrecognizable. Because you know, as well as my garden knows, golf clubs are fucking heavy. Some of them, depending on which one you're using. But the ends of them are heavy. And they could bash your face in pretty easily. Especially if I hit you more than, 3 or 4 times with it. At full force. I could cave your face in quite easily with it. And you know what else I could do then? I could wash it off in the sink and put it right back in the bag where I got it from. Gee, Moscow, what did you ever do with those golf clubs? I don't know. They just kind of disappeared, I think. Unless they come out in the Idaho State Police forensic documents. As far as I know, those golf clubs just went up in smoke. Anyway, let's carry on. Yeah. Dylan explained weeks prior to the 13th. Again, I feel part of this she's talking about that night. Anyway, Dylan explained weeks prior to the 13th, Kaylee told the roommates she heard a woman screaming, but no one else heard it. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. This is Dylan being psychotic here. Let's read that again. Dylan explained that on that night, she heard Kaylee screaming. That's what Dylan is saying here. But nobody else heard it but herself, Bethany, and the associates that were in the house because Xana and Ethan were already dead. And Maddie was already dead. That's what Dylan is telling you here, people. It had nothing to do with weeks prior because this is totally stupid. No, what Dylan Mortensen is telling you is she heard Kaylee screaming that night. And yes, nobody else heard it except her and Dylan. I'm scared. Her and Bethany and the associates, her friends. Because nobody else heard it because Xana and Ethan were dead. So, of course, they're not going to hear this. That's my interpretation of that. For sure. Dylan was asked if she was telling either Sergeant Blaker or me, Victoria Gooch, anything to prevent us from solving this crime. And she advised, well, of course not, morons. I'm telling you the truth. She said, yes, I understood your question. And then Dylan said that she did not, and then Dylan advised that she knew she did not sleep through the whole thing because she didn't get rid of her text communications well enough. She kept them on her phone and other things that she knows would have required her to be awake. Yeah, like participating in the murders. Son of a bitch. Shit. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That's part 4, my loves. We're leaving it right there. I love you all, my babies. I love you all. Think about what I just told you. And I want you to put it in the context of that night. Not 3 weeks ago, not 4 weeks ago, that night. Dylan is our psychotic prime. She always will be our psychotic prime. Bye-bye, son of a bitch. Shit.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV.